Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors, and this is episode number 32. What are you going to do now that it's the season finale? Surprise! Season 2 finale. Mama needs a break, you guys. Mama needs a break. So we're going to discuss today New York versus Los Angeles. We're going to have on Anisha Mehta, who is just the most magical person you've ever met. You guys who know her is to love her. She is as talented as she is miraculous. And you guys know when you watch somebody perform and you're like, God, they are magic. That's her, you guys. She has been a lead on several Broadway productions. She does musical theater. She has been a series regular on network half-hour television. She's got guest stars. She's been a lead on feature films, independent feature films. She is the goods, you guys. She's also a wife and mother of two of my favorite children in all of this world. Her husband is an actor and also a musician. So she adds a lot to the table as far as this discussion is concerned. So those of you who are like, do I move to New York or do I move to LA? This is the episode for you. For those of you who are thinking about becoming bi-coastal, this is the episode for you. For those of you thinking about how do I become a wife and or husband and parent and have a successful career, this is the episode for you. Doesn't it sound like a fantastic finale episode? So we're going to talk a lot about this episode, what you can also be doing while I'm away. One of those things is listen to all the episodes. If you have not listened to these episodes, you need to binge them, you guys. Binge them. Don't email me and be like, Audrey, I have a question about blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, did you listen to episode number 14? And you're like, no. And then I'm like, listen to episode number 14. Listen to them. I gave you so many to be so helpful. They are free. Take advantage of free things. So even though this is the season finale, don't worry. I'll be back in 2 to 3 months. Just gonna, it's easier for me to record them, edit them, get them ready, and then I can just sort of post them as auditions come. It's sort of nice for me to have it be a little bit more flexible because it takes a lot of time, you guys. It takes a lot of time. I love to help you, but you guys, you're very time consuming. I also want to do a shout out to the people who did a little posty post on social media. Luna Racy, Holly Schwartz, Alex Elliott, and John Devilman. Thanks so much, you guys. You guys, you have to post and share on social. That's social media life, though. It's legit. It's flames. So I really hope that you're on your way to an audition. And I hope you have so many auditions. And I hope that you book so many of them while I'm away plotting season 3. It's gonna be very good, you guys. All right, go book it. Audrey helps actors because they don't know anything. Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors, and today we have
Anisha Nagarajan.
Anisha Nagarajan. Hi, honey.
Hi.
Yay! You guys, as you heard in my intro, Anisha, one of my most favorite people on planet Earth. I'm so excited that you're here.
Me too.
Yay! And so we're going to discuss today LA versus New York. You are a bi-coastal actress and have been one for really since the beginning, right?
Yeah, since I was about 19.
Since she was 19, you guys.
Yay!
So, ta-da, there you go. And we have a lot of requests also for discussing musical theater. So she's quite qualified in the musical theater realm. You're actually leaving Los Angeles to go to New York in 8 days for another musical theater project.
Yeah, I've just recently did Monsoon Wedding at Berkeley Repertory Theater.
Yes.
And it's based on the film that was in 2002 or something like that.
Very good film, you guys.
So the director, Mira, Nair, has converted it into a musical, and we just did a regional run that broke box office records at Berkeley Rep and is now doing another workshop in the hopes of going to the Great Broadway.
The Great Broadway stage, you guys. So you and I know each other through your husband, really, Aalok, gem of a man.
Yes.
And here's what I want you to start with. Tell them your story about your first Broadway show.
Okay.
And this, you guys, is like the dream story that you all
wish.
It's like made for like television, like, you know, if you like any movie where like the girl goes and auditions for the chorus and then she gets cast as the lead. This happened to Anisha, so go for it.
Okay. So I was a sophomore at NYU.
And you were at Cap 21?
I was at Stella Adler's studio.
Oh, okay, great.
I went to an open call for dancers who can sing, and I'm not a dancer. But
she can move, you guys.
But I don't know where the cojones came from. I went to Tara Rubin, who's the casting director, and I said, listen, I'm not a dancer. I had an exam the day of the singer call. Can you please listen to me sing? And I said this before the audition.
Yeah.
And despite whatever travesty occurred during the dancer call, they still let me stay for the singing part of the audition. Did well enough for them to call me back and call me back again, and then call me back a third time. When I got called back the third time, it was at the actual theater space, the Broadway theater. During my audition, they handed me a packet of the lead's sides for the show. And they said, go downstairs and look over this stuff and come back, and we're going to work on this with you. And I was crapping my pants, literally.
Did you have like any idea of what was possible at that point? Or were you thinking like they were maybe thinking you for understudy or like?
I honestly had no idea.
Yeah, I love that.
In my audition, they basically said like featured ensemble, and that's what I'd been reading for. And then during that call, they decided to give me all this information to study. And so I think I took like 30 to 45 minutes. And that was actually during that period was when I met Aalok for the first time when I was studying for this stuff.
Yeah.
And he just wouldn't shut up. And I'm like, who's this guy who keeps talking
when I'm trying to learn these sides? And that is still how the relationship is today.
Exactly.
Good.
So then I went back and I did all of the sides for that role. They had me sing, and it was sight singing. So thank God I can read music because
I mean, you're a musician.
I grew up playing the piano. That was a skill that was very valuable during that time.
Yes. Yeah.
After that, they said, can you come back tomorrow morning for some chemistry reads? And I said, okay.
Yeah, right.
And so I went in for the chemistry read, and the guy that I read with was actually somebody that I knew when I was a kid because he was from the same town as me. So we clicked pretty quickly. Yeah. Then I got a call a few hours later when I was actually at a Barnes & Noble with one of my buddies going to see the author of the book, Wicked, do a book reading because I'm a big dork.
Yes, she is.
And Tara Rubin said to me, how would you like to be the lead in a Broadway show? And I died.
I know. I die every time I hear the story. I'm like, oh my God. It's like my like inner 13-year-old fat girl musical theater nerd is like so dies for that story every single time that you tell it. And in fact, they had what they were planning on doing, right, was casting the girl who was from the West End.
Yeah,
right?
I think that they were thinking about that possibility. Yeah.
And so like up comes this bitch from NYU, this chorus girl, and she just like, it's like, oh, you want me to read for the lead? Oh, okay. And you want me to learn these songs out of nowhere? Sounds good. BTW, I have the lead now. So you then eventually came out to Los Angeles, and you want to tell them what brought you to LA?
I did. So I first moved out here right after I got married.
Okay.
I think that coming off of doing theater and moving here without any tangible real was it was slightly problematic for me. So I decided to go back to NYU, and that's when the bi-coastal thing sort of started.
Yeah.
I went back to New York, I went back to NYU.
Yes.
And started to finish my degree. But it seems like the universe
doesn't want you to go to college.
Didn't want me to finish in a timely manner.
I know, I remember.
In a good way, though, because when I had like a few credits left, I booked Outsourced on NBC,
Right.
which was a show that lasted one season.
It was a half
nice.
hour single cam.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And so I moved back out to LA for that, and I think that
And did you book that in New York? And
I
they
booked that
sent
in
you to LA?
New York.
Okay, great.
And it was Marcia DeMonis casting, and that was a much better
Paying job.
Yes. Yes, television pays better than theater, guys.
Yes. Way better.
But it was a much more lucrative transition.
That's correct.
Yes.
And did they pay you to relocate?
Yes.
I'm guessing
they gave
did.
me a relocation package.
Yeah. That network relocation package,
Yes.
you guys. That's even better than that Netflix relocation package.
Indeed.
Yes. So you got that.
I
you
did.
came, you did like a season. And then tell me about what point then you had your first daughter.
Yeah, I stuck around because of the job opportunities, obviously,
Right.
and also because I wanted to have a family.
Yes.
And LA is a lovely place to
It
do
is.
that.
Well, particularly for those first 5 years.
Exactly.
I mean, not for nothing, you guys, but like, do you like that stroller life up those
In the subway
stairs? It's just
It's a
every
little
time.
tricky. I've done it. I've
Listen,
done
I know
it.
you have, and many do, but it's just every time I would see it, I'd be like, "Can I help you? Like carry your 6
They have
kids?"
elevators. You have to like
But
figure out where they
still,
are, and
I
it's
know.
kind of tricky.
I don't know. I always also hate like the idea of like being in an elevator in New York. Like in a subway always made
It's
me
grody.
like creeped out. Well, also for safety reasons, like because then somebody can just get in with you, and I was
Right.
always like, nah, I'll cut you. That's why I was like, don't get me, I'll cut you. But like when anyone has the strollers, you do the thing where you like help them lift the stroller up. And
Yeah.
if anyone wasn't helping somebody lift that stroller up, I was like, you are a terrible person. Help a mom out. Village life, you guys, village life. Okay, so then you've been in LA, mostly in LA, I'd say for the last like 5 to 7 years.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But you have in that time continued lots of musical theater pursuits. For people, we're going to do a two-parter with this question. So for people who are like graduating from college or they're maybe coming from a smaller market and they're trying to decide which coast they're going to go to, New York or Los Angeles. So this is the phase 1 actor. Who do you recommend goes to which coast for what reasons?
Well, I think that it depends on where you went to school, first of all, because
Okay.
if you're coming from a school that is in Manhattan,
Yeah.
then I would recommend sticking around in Manhattan for a little while just to
Use those
use
contacts.
exactly.
Okay.
But if you're coming from a school in like Chicago or something
Right.
like that, then it opens up your avenues. But Chicago is a big theater hub.
But even any of those other schools, there's some really great schools in the South and in the Midwest
Yeah,
that are,
for sure.
really solid programs. And so they graduate, and a lot of them go to maybe like Atlanta, or they go to New Orleans, or they go to, sort of New Mexico, Texas, Arizona, and they're sort of in these smaller markets.
Sure.
And then they feel like they hit a cap. I know a lot of people in Seattle feel this way too. There's a huge theater scene in Seattle.
Absolutely.
And then they feel like, well, now where do they go? Do they go to New York or do they go to Los Angeles? Which
Right.
market is going to be best for them?
I actually have a lot of friends from Seattle
Okay.
in the theater scene over there. And because they've been in the theater scene, a lot of them are transferring to New York
Yes.
to see if they can use whatever credits they've gained and garnered in Seattle,
Right.
because that's such a great
Yeah.
location for theater that
Yeah.
those credits would rack up equity points and allow them to go to New York and at least go to equity calls.
Yes. Okay, let's just like pretend you're like little baby Anisha.
Yes.
Okay, you're 21.
Yeah.
Right? You've just graduated from Baby Anisha Musical Theater School in somewhere not in Los Angeles
Yeah.
or New York.
Mm-hmm.
And you're deciding which city to go to.
Yeah.
Which one do you recommend Baby Anisha go to?
I have always been a New York
Girl.
Yeah. I dreamt about Broadway from the time I was like 10 years old.
Yeah.
So I would have definitely.
And do you think that's largely because you're a musical theater heart and soul actress?
I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Like if musical theater in particular is your jam, New York City is
the
really
place to be.
It's really New York City, even really over the West End, wouldn't you say? Like
West End is a smaller market.
right. But
and
definitely as far as like what is like I feel like the American modern
musical theater.
is
Exactly.
the thing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Great. Now, if you were going to talk to little baby Audrey Moore, entering the show business after going to, say, a Midwest school, I think, then where would you recommend little baby Audrey Moore go to?
Well, I would have to have a conversation with you.
So let's have that.
Yeah. Okay, so do you like the prospect of doing film and television, or do you like the prospect of being on stage more?
Both.
Well, I would say that your prospects of doing both would be higher in New York because there are film and television opportunities there, but there are also more workshops happening, more opportunities to get into theater projects at a baseline level in New York versus Los Angeles, where there are things happening, but a lot of the time the things that happen in Los Angeles in theater are cast out of New York as well as out of LA. So you're looking at a slimmer picking of projects in Los Angeles in terms of theater, but more television and film opportunities.
Right. Now let's pretend that little baby Audrey Moore wants to make a lot of money in this business, and she doesn't want to be cold and poor all the time.
Sure. I would say that you should stay in wherever city you're currently in and build up a reel.
Okay, great.
That allows you to patent yourself and market yourself in wherever you decide to go.
That's great.
Unless you've done productions, you don't really have a musical theater or a theater reel. But you can, as we've both done, create our own scenes, film them, and have that be something that's
substantial
and available to agents and managers to look at. So
what I love about what you just said is it really hits home what I tell people on this podcast all the time, which is like, if you don't have footage, you don't exist.
Exactly.
And the only exception to that really is if you're so young that nobody in your category has footage yet.
Right.
But even now, like, just know, like, if you're coming from college and some of you look really young, and so maybe your casting is still like 15, 14, even though you're 21, and that's going to be true for some of you, just know there are still plenty of people in both markets who started when they were 7 and they have a breadth of material that you just don't have. It's just not as common. But what I will say is, if you are playing somebody in your 20s, if your casting is in your 20s, and you are not both union and also have footage to show yourself, show what you can do, you're not qualified yet to be a professional in this business.
Yeah. And I think that that's definitely the struggle that I had when I first came out to LA after I got married, is that I didn't have anything on a reel.
Yeah.
I didn't have any footage.
Nobody cared that you had just done this musical.
A lead in a Broadway show.
No,
it doesn't count over here.
No, right.
So
it does, I'd say, more now.
Not that it doesn't count at all. I got in the room.
Well, just remember also, like, what market you were entering into was really it was a time where it was like the death of television. Most of the slots were reality television. Cable and internet didn't exist yet as far as new content.
Yeah.
That's part of why I left New York, was because I realized that it wasn't anymore like they were pulling people from the theater scene and giving them shows. But they were pulling people from the television scene
and giving them
theater.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, F this noise, I'm out. Right. But I will say now that does seem to be changing.
It is.
That in the New York market, they're getting a little bit more cred as far as being like a seasoned actor that gets to be cool again.
For sure.
And now that there's more opportunities, it's like, oh, well, they do theater. She's a theater girl. And that is, again, having some clout.
There's a cachet to it.
There's a cachet to it again, similar to what there was maybe in like the 70s and the 80s that sort of like disappeared, I would say, for a good 10 to 20 years. Okay.
Right.
So phase 1, I think, really think about where your passion really lies. And then also know that every year you're in one market is a year that you're not then building relationships in the other market. So do you want to talk about that?
For sure. I think that last year was a big theater year for me. I was in Berkeley, and then I was in Houston, and the total amount of time that I was out of Los Angeles was probably around 8 months, I want to say.
It was a long time.
It definitely took a hit for me in terms of my ability to go out for everything from pilots to guest stars to, because I was gone from mid-February until probably like August or September. You can self-tape. In fact, there's more self-tapes that are happening
than ever. And the higher up the echelon that you are, the more that's considered cool, I would say.
Yeah.
Like if you're out working high-profile projects, then your self-tape has like clout because it's not like, oh, she's just going to self-tape for you.
Sure. But I think that having your own space where you have a lovely, backdrop where you can do those self-tapes is better than when you're on a regional contract and you're like trying to figure out, where am I going to do this? What am I going to do?
And having the time to really work on
right,
it. And
not
not
you're
only
in rehearsal,
that,
in tech, like doing all of these things.
And I'd also say for theater actors in particular, I have noticed that my theater friends, those of us who sort of have a background in that, we do particularly well in their room because we're so good at direction and redirection.
Yes.
Part of what's hard with a self-tape is you're sort of just taking a shot in the dark.
For sure.
Of like what you think maybe it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And you do that when going into an audition room, but then a casting director can be like, okay, so you're going like red and I need you to go a little bit more blue purple.
Exactly.
And then you know how to do that in a way that then is really impressive.
I think that's another, you've hit the nail on the head for me right there, because I think I've been getting so many self-tapes lately, and I'm definitely somebody who's better in the room.
Well, you're also an engaging person, just as a person.
Well, thanks.
Well, but a lot of people aren't. And they get in their room and they're kind of like awkward and cold and weird. And I've noticed those people, their self-tapes go really well for them as opposed to in their room. And those people who can take direction and redirection really well and also like are just like lovely to talk to in a room, then the casting directors are really excited about you, pulling for you. You get a rapport. You get called back even if the role's not right for you. And you can sort of gain that momentum.
Totally. Totally.
Let's then talk about the New York City market, because we're going to get into like the phase 2, phase 3 actors and the value of pursuing bicoastal life. Okay. So how many casting directors are in and around the New York City area?
Oh, gosh.
More or less than Los Angeles?
I don't know.
I think less.
You think less?
I think less. It's a smaller market for sure. I mean, it's an island. Like, it's a legitimate island, right? But I would say there's more plethora of types of casting directors. There's really like film casting directors, theater casting directors, some commercial casting directors. There's like, and whereas in Los Angeles, you really have like 2 theater casting directors. Then you have like 3 film, and then lots of television, lots of commercial. Yeah.
And I think that you have bigger casting agencies that are bicoastal as well, that do
for sure
theater as well as film and television that exist on both coasts.
That's absolutely true.
So,
and so would you say 275? Like, what do you think?
I think it's probably somewhere in between that.
I'd say so.
That's my,
I think like
that's my guess.
I'm going to guess like 150-ish.
Yeah.
And I think in Los Angeles, it's 250 casting directors in and out around the Los Angeles area. So if somebody is considering going bicoastal, they're in one, all the time. And I know you have friends like this too, who like bounce because they're like, New York's bullshit. There's no opportunities here. Like, I'm out of here. And like, rent's too high. And like, fuck New York. I'm out.
Right.
And then they're like, I'm going to LA. And then they're like, here. And then at the same time, I have friends who are like, LA's BS. Nobody takes it seriously. Like, I want to be a serious actor and I want to do like theater, and like you never get to do work done. And I'm tired of these like 7 lines, something, and they're just going to cast somebody with a cool haircut. I'm out. I'm going to New York. And they're just like throwing a tantrum, each thinking the other side is going to like solve their problems.
I have a deep love for both mediums. I think that there's something really immediate and tangible about having that audience reaction right after you finish a performance.
Of course.
That gives you that exhilaration, that high, that you don't get with anything else. And that can be really fulfilling. The downside is, the money is not there. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
So can we talk about the money for a second?
Yeah.
What is the general status quo weekly salary of being a New York, let's even go Broadway actor?
Broadway minimum is probably, I think now it's gone to $27.50 or something like that.
A week?
For ensemble. And then
and that's a week.
Yeah, that's a week. Which is not bad.
No.
And I think that for principals, it's obviously depends on the person,
what you're coming in with,
exactly,
or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
What series you're coming off of.
Right.
Yeah.
For regional productions, or the regional production where I got paid the least, I think it was around $450 a week. And then usually it's between $900 and $1,500 for a good regional contract. A
for
good
a
regional
lead
contract. No, I think that it would be Favored Nations.
Oh, I see. Favored Nations. Okay, good. And that's a week?
That's
$1,500 a week? Okay, good.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about being a series regular. How much is the minimum, do you know? So you're not getting paid per week, you're getting paid per episode.
Yes.
But you're shooting 22 to 24 episodes a year. And you usually do one episode
every week, I would say. When I was doing it, we did an episode a week.
And then you have every 3 weeks, they'd usually give you a week off, right? You'd have a little hiatus week break for the writers to write.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for a SAG minimum, I believe for a series regular is $20,000. Let's talk about cost of living in both cities.
Well, both cities are expensive. I think that there are more opportunities for getting more bang for your buck out here. You're not going to get even a shoebox in Manhattan.
Or Brooklyn now, too.
For under $3,000.
I know.
A month.
Yep.
But I think that Jersey City is a good option for people who want to go live in Manhattan because it's literally a 9-minute path ride. I lived there for a while and it was super convenient, especially while I was going to NYU because it drops you right off at 9th Street.
Yeah, great.
Near Washington Square. I would recommend for anybody who's under a budget to look into Jersey or, even Long Island.
Yeah,
right. Because even though the commute would be a little bit longer in Jersey City.
Memorize those lines.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, It's really easy to be poor and in a shoebox when you're 23.
Exactly.
You guys. But then you'll just see as you continue to pursue this career, you just get tired of it.
Aalok and I used to sing the song, "We'll share the shelter of my single bed," when I was living in New York.
Yeah, exactly. Because you were.
Right.
You were sharing the shelter of your single bed.
Exactly.
Love it. Okay. And then let's talk about cost of living in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Well, we live in Santa Monica, which is basically cut off my arm and I'll give it to you.
But you're doing that for your children.
Exactly. Because the schools are amazing. But there's plenty of other places. The Valley, anywhere in the Valley is probably less expensive.
And a lot of people are now moving southeast, Inglewood and Crenshaw now are being taken over. There's a lot of gentrification happening there in a way that's affordable. And I would say...
Even Orange County.
I know, yeah. A lot of people doing Orange County. It just sort of depends on what lifestyle you want. And what I will say about the hard thing for both, Los Angeles to me, where people get tripped up is that the lifestyle is yeah, hey.
Yeah.
So it's easy for people to stay unmotivated.
Perma-vacay.
Big perma-vacay. Because it just feels fabulous. You're just I don't know, let's go to Disneyland.
Right.
And
we had the annual pass for a while. That was dangerous.
Yeah, and you're always there, buying another button. I don't know, so exciting. And then you're at the beach, and then you're
right.
I don't know, let's sleep in. And now weed's legal, so you're all right, everybody, let's get high. And it's just so easy.
Yeah.
But conversely, New York has the opposite problem where it's grind all the time. Then you're just crying all the time in the subway. That's what I know. It's a hard life.
I think that being bi-coastal gives you that balance, though, where you get the go, go, and you're constantly moving and driven and doing your thing. And then you come back here and you're
yay, magical hippie fun time.
Just chill out for a little bit.
Exactly.
But I mean, not to say that there's not work to be done here and things to get motivated about. But
I mean, just I would say, you have to make sure that you're relaxing in New York and not in a way that's just like getting totally drunk and passing out relaxing, which is what I would say the majority MO.
Yeah.
New York, like the habit for New York is like you're like pushing yourself all day.
Right.
Then you're working, like the waiting tables gig in New York is hard, you guys, because they don't have a cap on the amount of hours you work per day. So they'll like work you for like 14 hours.
Wow.
And then when you're done, you like have to unwind. So everyone goes and gets like drunk afterwards, and then you're not getting up for calls or things like that because you're just tired.
People line up for those open calls.
Listen, I was lined up for
at
those open
5
calls.
a.m.
Exactly. And it's hard if you're getting to bed at 4.
Right.
You're not waking up for that open call at 5 in the snowstorm. Like you're just not going to do it.
Right.
You're not going to. And so it takes a lot of discipline to be nice to yourself, take care of yourself, be sweet to yourself, and give yourself a little bit of softness that New York doesn't necessarily lend itself to. And conversely, in Los Angeles, you have to work hard to give yourself that edge and to push yourself and to do a little grind when there's a city that's just like, just relax. Just come hang out. Like, let's just chill out and nap. Like, who wants to nap, you know? So you have to really push yourself in
give yourself a schedule and
area.
Yeah.
Really great.
Now, the tricky thing is now that I have kids, I have to figure out where I want to grow roots despite my
passions.
Yeah.
No, I totally understand that.
that's where we're at now.
Which is, you know, my favorite thing in Alan's episode that you guys just listened to that he says, which I love so much. I thought it was like the best sentence of the episode when I said to him, can you ever tell like who's going to make it? Like, and he said, I think it's a rookie move to be like that person. And the reason he said wasn't because of talent or work ethic or anything like that. He said, you don't know what's going to happen in that person's life. And I was like, that's really it. You don't know, if you're going to have children or not.
Right.
And you don't know if something's going to happen within your family life. You don't know, like I have friends who like have children and their children have like real like learning disabilities and things like that, which then become special needs children, and that is then another consideration that you didn't. That becomes
a big motivation for what you do.
For the choices that you have to make, or if somebody in your family gets sick, and then your choices you have to make to then accommodate that. Like all those things become your priorities shift, and as your priorities shift, then the lifestyle that you were just so excited to have when you were 25 then becomes a different thing, and will continue to become a different thing as you get older, and if you have a family, as your family gets older, or whatever those things are.
Absolutely. I mean, the struggle is real, obviously, but the way that I've been trying to think about it and to tell myself is that change is always going to happen in this industry. There's always going to be change. There's never going to be these jobs, you finish them and you say happy trails.
Yes.
You go from one family of people to another family of people, and there's going to constantly be change. And so when there's change in your personal life, I feel like it's
part of it.
Part of it. You just have to embrace it and kind of allow yourself to.
Yeah. Real, you guys, like, listen, I've seen all of the plays. I've done more theater than anybody. I've just done all the theater, you guys. And I haven't done it for the last several years. And I will just like say the theater life is a hard life.
It's hard, for sure.
It's a hard life. It's hard on your it's hard on your instrument. It's hard on your energy.
You have to take such good care of yourself.
Such good care. It requires a lot of you.
Yeah.
And then the return on your investment of your time, energy, and body is not as high as far as finances are concerned.
Exactly.
But can be if you love it enough.
Artistically, it's so fulfilling.
Very high return in that sense. And so, just think about that when you're considering what you want to do. I will say, in favor of the Los Angeles theater scene, first of all, whatever coast you're in, don't talk trash about the other coast unless you've lived there. Can we just like have that moment? Because I talk to so many people in New York and they just talk shit about Los Angeles.
So
and I'm
true.
like, listen, I've lived in both.
Right.
And you haven't. And I can tell you about both of them. And also people in LA, they just talk such shit about New York. And I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So like, let's stop that. But also, if you're considering theater in Los Angeles, I have heard it's easier to get your equity card out here because nobody's trying to do it out here. And so going to your equity calls, all that sort of stuff, it's actually like in New York, the like stand in line for like 3 hours just to get typed out anyway. Yeah. Here doesn't exist. If you're non-equity in New York, you're just not going to get seen. Yeah. But apparently in Los Angeles, you go to the equity calls in LA, and if you're non-union, you get seen in like 2 hours. Like, it's really fast here.
That's amazing.
And to just sort of get your equity numbers up, that's a lot easier to do out here. And as my dad said to me when I was deciding what coast to live in, he said, Audrey, if you're going to be poor and starving, might as well be poor and starving and warm.
Yeah.
He was not wrong. But I really think, too, it's also about like where you're raised in. Like, you're raised in the East Coast.
I was raised in the East Coast.
So jumping back into the East Coast has something about it that you know that's familiar to you, that you're comfortable with. You guys, I'm from New Mexico. And like in a lot of ways, Los Angeles is New Mexico with palm trees and an ocean.
Yeah.
And it's a dry desert wasteland that happens to have some beautiful trees that somebody stole from the tropics and planted here a long time ago. And then we have a really beautiful ocean. And that's it. So it's like what feels
like home, what feels comfortable.
Yeah, what feels comfortable.
And Los Angeles has become home for me too. I kind of have my heart in both places now.
Yeah, I can tell that that's true. But you've really worked the community here in that sense too. But wait, Anisha, wait. I have to interrupt you.
What?
So Anisha, we're going to discuss a listener question about what to do in this time off. This is the season finale of season 2, Audrey Helps Actors, and it's now April, May, June. That's when pilots are being seen, watched, picked up, not. Other shows are going to get picked up or canceled. And so what can people do in this slow time?
I would recommend, if you need to get new headshots done, get those done. If you have stuff that you need to do in terms of your administration stuff, if you like need to work on your website, if you need to get your reel redone or add things to it, anything that you have control over that you can do yourself, create your own stuff during this time.
Now's the time. What happens is fall episodics start in July, you guys. Yeah. So what I want you to know that I really learned about myself is that my whole life is just preparing. I just spend all of my time preparing. And then sometimes I get auditions, but then I'm preparing all the time so that I'm ready for those opportunities and I'm ready to get those opportunities. And the best example I have is like an actor who will come up to me and be like, Audrey, there's this incredible role for me. And like, I have to get in. Tell me how to get in. And I'm like, well, do you know that casting director? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, do you have any footage of something like that role that you can go ahead and send to that casting director? No. Well, do you have an agent who can call that casting director and let them know that you're really great for this role? No. Well, then you're not ready for that opportunity. So you want to be prepping to be ready for the opportunity now. What happens is fall happens and you all panic. Yeah. Because you're looking at the end of your year and you're like, I'm a failure. 2018 has not gone how I wanted it to go. And I am a failure. So let's avoid that. And so how you avoid that is by collecting data now. You should be following deadline and seeing what pilots are getting picked up and what shows are getting dropped so that you can start to see what are the trends and what footage you need to be getting on those shows. And then you want to be filming scenes for those shows, or you want to be re-editing your reel in a way that is targeted
towards those things.
So like, I know that the comedy pilots this season were mostly multicam, which was very different from the previous years, right?
I noticed that too.
And I think it's because of the success of Will and Grace came back and crushed, and now Roseanne has come back and crushed. And so everyone's like, oh, multicam is where the answer is. So that's a particular skill set of comedy that if you don't have any evidence of, they're going to be less likely to call you in over somebody who has that evidence.
Sure.
So you can't film multicam. It's like you need a soundstage at Sony to do it, but you can film scenes where the characters have a little more life in how they express themselves.
Absolutely.
That is going to be valuable to multicam. Also, what's valuable to multicam is theater.
Absolutely.
Theater training, comedy.
About to say that.
See, she loves
For
that.
sure.
So maybe now is a really good time to do a play that is a sort of comedic play that requires ensemble and timing and being ready and getting people to go and see that.
Yeah.
This is also the time I recommend you make a list of everything you've auditioned for in 2018 and you start to see who booked it. And then I want you to watch it and start to learn who's doing what and like what category you're getting close to and what category you're like biffing and what category your headshots are getting you called in for versus what category you're actually booking.
Totally.
I can see Anisha's wheels are turning.
Yeah.
As we talk
man.
about it. And then another really great thing to do is to start looking at your wardrobe, things like that, like really start to look at trends, you know, in all areas there are trends that happen in in commercials. It's like, well, now, you know, young cool kid is wearing this sort of thing with that kind of haircut versus last year it was this kind of haircut with that sort of outfit. Mm-hmm. So start to notice those sorts of things and just start to get a couple of those pieces ready. And again, you guys, start or continue self-taping. Continue that process, continue watching yourself. And I really want you guys to be continuing the process of creating your artistic community. You know, this is really important.
It is so incredibly important.
Particularly as you grow older, you're going to have like needs, you know, and like Anisha has kids and she has an artistic community that helps her out when those sorts of things happen. Somebody who can come over and help you self-tape, somebody that can help you with an audition that maybe you get, and vice versa. All those things start to come into play, and you have to support each other and be generous with your time. And if you don't have something happening today, you need to be helping somebody else who has something happening today.
That's so good.
It's so good.
So good.
It's like so right on. So I love you guys. Stay with it. Just keep working. And what your now season should be doing is prepping for fall episodics. I want you to prep. Get your agents ready, get your footage ready, get your resume ready, get your reel ready, get everything ready so that by fall episodics, don't be surprised by what's on television. You need to know ahead of time what's coming out so you can target yourself. Because then what happens is like if you can get on the first 5 episodes of This Is Us before it like blows up and is hella popular, get on This Is Us before everyone else wants to get on it.
Right.
And then you're going to be getting that network residual check for like the next 12 years because it's going to be on for 12 seasons.
Right.
Which is what you want. That's another thing we should talk about, but we'll finish. All right, you guys. Have a great time off. Book it and just crush this time off. Don't let this time off get you down. Okay, good. All right, so here's the other thing that I really want to talk about is the residual factor. This is another thing that Los Angeles has that New York doesn't have.
True that.
Because theater ain't help, and they're not like, hey, remember when you did that musical 10 years ago? Here's a check.
They're like, we're working on a shoestring budget.
Yeah,
what can you do for us?
Exactly. Can you continue to pay us even though you're not doing the show anymore? Because that would be super ideal for us, right?
Right.
Yeah. So the residuals income thing is real. And what you guys will start to notice is as you start to be booking 3-5 jobs a year in this business, that you continue to see that money for years to come. And the residual income is the reason why Australia and England all come here. It's because they don't get the residual income in their towns and they get it here. Yes, she says.
Indeed.
She's nodding her head. She doesn't realize that she's in fact on the podcast. Good.
Well, so both my husband and I have done a handful of guest stars. And I would say that the popularity and success of the show, as you were saying before, is something that definitely causes the yield of residuals to be higher.
Yes.
So I did a guest star on Grey's Anatomy, and the residuals that I get for that are out the
wahoo.
wazoo.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Versus
something on Netflix. It's not. You're going to see that in a year, and it's going to be like $300.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Even my Outsourced series regular role that I did, the residuals that I get for that are few and far between, and not nearly as much as what I get for Grey's Anatomy or Code Black, which is still airing. You know,
exactly.
So like you were saying, I would say hone in on those shows
in season 1
that are gonna explode before they do.
Yes,
so that you can get that residual check.
Yeah, get those residual checks. Get that money. I mean, it really is a huge... The reason residuals exist in America is because, what they don't tell you when you're in acting school is like that's really how actors continue to live from job to job. Most actors aren't making like regular income. What you're doing is you're booking a few jobs a year. You make the money from those few jobs for filming, and then the rest of it is residual income that comes in that you've built up over several years.
Exactly.
And that's like a building growth process.
Yeah.
Very good.
Totally.
Let's talk musical theater.
Yeah.
Yay! She loves musical theater.
My favorite.
She's our favorite. You guys, she's the best. So let's talk about, you've been doing musical theater your whole life.
Yeah.
Really, and I want to know... Here's the thing, you guys. I bounced out of musical theater like the moment I graduated. And it's because I had a producer in New York intelligently say to me, he said, "Can you sing?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "Can you walk into any room and know that you can outsing anyone in that room?" And I said, "No." And he looked at me like, "Well?" And his point was really, this is a very competitive town and business. And your skill to sing as a musical theater actor is something that has to be very competitive. And so I either wanted to put in the work to make it that competitive or not. And so I decided not, because the part that I love the most about the musical theater stuff was actually the acting part. I loved when we got to the third callback where we finally got to do lines. Right. I suffered through movement. I could do the singing, and then I was like, "Hey, the acting."
Here's where I'm at about that. I definitely think that there's always going to be somebody who's better than you.
Of course.
Always. No matter what level you're at, there's always going to be that person that's just like, what the heck is coming out of their mouth?
But also, can I just say about that? Better than you, I wouldn't agree with. I would agree with
different.
Well, different. They offer things that you don't offer.
And this is the thing. I think that over the years, I figured out what my niche is with my voice. I have a much more alto tone, even in my speaking voice, than most people do. And I think that my singing voice is a lot different than most musical theater actresses in that sense.
Yes. But you hit soprano notes.
I can.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure, yes.
But
for the record.
But I think that my comfort zone is in a lower register than other people in musical theater. That has held me in kind of a different standing. I also have knowledge of other types of music, and I think that can kind of give you a little bit of an edge. I studied Indian classical singing my whole life, and so when there are roles that crop up that ask for a vocal quality that's a little bit different, that has like an otherworldly element to it. Like I did all of the musical workshops for Spider-Man.
Yes.
Turn Off the Dark. Arachne character, the who was the nemesis of Spider-Man, that she was the villain. The vocal quality that they wanted was something ethereal that sounded not of this earth, really.
And can I just pause and say what I love about this conversation is I've literally never heard anyone have a conversation about the casting of your vocal tone.
Yeah.
And that's so mind-blowing to me and great. And
it comes in the breakdowns. It'll say, we want something that sounds like this. And then they'll give you, they had 2 songs that they wanted us to sing, which is pretty standard. They give you the sheet music and 8 bars or whatever, 16 bars. Then they say within that, they wanted you to improvise. And they were calling in people of all different ethnicities. But where my mind went, because I had this other understanding of a different type of music, was let me incorporate that into whatever I do. So it gives me that edge.
It really gives you a brand is
Yeah.
what you're really talking about. It gives you, this is what I'm talking about, you guys, all the time in casting. What do you bring that is unique to you that nobody can do better than you? Because there's other stuff that other people are going to bring that you can't compete with.
Right.
And if you try to do what they do better than them, you'll lose every time.
Absolutely.
And what I will say, I know about you in particular in your auditions and your acting is like you have a really great understanding of what you bring to the table in general. And so the auditions where you're like, I can bring this and this is my casting, you bring it and then you get it. And then the ones where you're like, well, this isn't what I do, you sort of just don't sweat it.
Yeah, that's definitely what I do.
That's what she does.
Sure.
But I think that's great. I really love that. Okay, so this vocal tone quality that you're talking and style, really. So what do you recommend to somebody? What is the process of like this workshop? Like, I don't know anything about it. You get these workshops and then you workshop something for like 12 years.
Oh, yeah, it takes forever. I think I was workshopping Spider-Man for definitely 2 to 3 years for sure.
And it continued to workshop after you.
It did. The process of putting up a show on Broadway, it's all about timing and it's all about who is investing in it, and it takes forever because of the number of producers that are involved, the number of people that are involved to try and you know, every medium it's a collaborative effort, but I feel like the process of getting funding is always more of a
well, here's what I would say
different struggle.
Is what's different about it is like when you're developing a show, and this is where I feel like the worlds could really learn from each other. When you're developing a show for television, what they do is they like write it for a long time.
Right.
And then in like 6 weeks, they're like, cast it, make it a hit, go. And then when it's not a hit really fast, they're like, cancel it, move on. And what theater does is instead, it's like, well, musical theater.
You can't fix things in post-production.
Right.
In theater.
It takes, that's the best.
You know.
I mean, hashtag, right? So what it does is you're collaborating. The whole creative process is the long-term process that usually the writers in television film are doing on their own. And then they film, and yes, then they take the time in post to like figure out what they have. Versus in musical theater, you're part of the development process. And
which is why you have people like in the Hamilton cast who are now getting part of the cut.
Right.
And
because
I think they're doing that with Frozen too.
Yeah. So for somebody entering or currently in musical theater, what is the thing that you can say to them that they should really be honing in? Like for me, I tell people with commercials, I want you to be watching commercials. I want you to be finding your type. I want you to be seeing what they wear. I want you to be seeing the style. Each brand has a different style, right? Like Geico's style is very different from Esurance style. And so you have to start to notice what that is so that you're bringing that. For television, I tell people I need you to self-tape. I need you to be getting really comfortable at learning sides with zero time, bringing your authentic self to those sides and learning how to solve the problem that they need you to solve as an actor within the writing by knowing the tone, knowing what you bring to it. So you really have to be proficient in both knowing what shows are, you have to be proficient in knowing what networks are, you have to be proficient in knowing your type, and you have to be proficient at learning sides fast.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think that advice
carries over
for sure. And I also think that in addition to that, because you're dealing with the music element as well, you need to make sure that you have songs in different genres in your back pocket that you like, something legit, something poppy, and be really solid. A lot of auditions will ask you to bring your book with you so that if they see or hear something they like in your voice, they might want to hear you sing something else.
I see. Any tips to somebody to find their type? Because what I do know about music is a lot of people, just like actors, everyone thinks they're just like so unique, and there's just not a way that they can like be boxed in, and that's a thing that like I know every actor feels like, well, that person, they're just so clear, but I'm just so unique that nobody could possibly pin me down. And so that's when I recommend that they self-tape and they, do those sorts of things. And also get in front of teachers who are working now, particularly if what you're trying to do is decide your type now. right?
Yeah, for sure. I think every time that I've booked something big in my life has been when I've been in school or taking some kind of class, working on myself, and the muscles are so fresh. They're ready to go. And so when you go in the room, it's almost as if you're doing another exercise.
Yes.
It's not
this opportunity.
Right. And so as much as it is an opportunity, it's also just like you're going through the motions of what you've been doing. And also you're more grounded in yourself.
Do you have any suggestions to anyone who is listening, who is like a theater or musical theater actor who wants to break into television?
I would say if you're living in an area that's not Los Angeles already, that you should definitely build your reel. And even if you're living in Los Angeles, you need to build your reel.
Yeah,
because
have footage.
That was the biggest struggle for me when I first really made the move, is that without any kind of visible material, it's hard to get your foot in the door.
The only way to get around that, I would say, is like if you're in New York and you are in a Broadway show or something, and then you have a casting director who's such a fan of your work that they bring you in and then they go to bat for you.
Yeah.
But they really have to go to bat for you because they have to say, listen, I know that you've never seen this person or heard of them and they don't exist and they're ghosts to you, but here's their tape. I promise they're this good consistently. And then they're willing to put their reputation on the line for you to then be a part of that show. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Before I go into like my questions, I always ask people of the diverse category what they want to say about it or their experience at this point in time. I know you just had a pilot season, so if you want to talk about that and what you've learned.
I definitely think that the opportunities are growing. I'm seeing a lot more opportunities in protagonist roles for minority women, and that makes me really excited.
Yes.
And just being a part of, aside from film and television, just being a part of this particular musical that I've been working on, it's if it ends up going to Broadway, it would be the most authentic cultural representation of my peeps.
Love it.
That's ever been.
It's really moving
on
you
stage.
Guys.
So,
I learned a lot about their history and culture in the show. Yeah.
So I'm seeing growth.
Good. Where would you like to see it grow further to?
I think that
you could talk to the writers out there.
Yeah, I would just like it not to be something that we even have to discuss. You know, I'd like it to just be so much of a norm that we're not sitting here having this conversation.
What I would say that for all of those of you listening, what I notice is the trend. So if you're a writer, let's fix this. The trend that I am experiencing is that they're writing diverse characters, but that those diverse characters are either now like so smoking hot that they're like, I'm Indian and I'm so sexy and exotic, or I'm African American and I'm so sexy and exotic, or I'm Indian and I'm such a civil engineer, or I'm African American, yeah, exactly, or I'm African American and I'm just so sassy, you know. And it's still, now it's like going to these polar extremes that are still, and I understand, I guess, that like you start with stereotypes to like then work into some normalcy. Yeah. But what I think we can handle it, you guys. I think that as an audience, as the millennials are becoming adults and being the people who, like, millennials have kids now and millennials are part of the workforce. If you're writing, my other passion that I really want to get out to you guys is to be writing roles for disabilities. And if you know somebody who's interested in the business, who is a person of disability, then I want you to do what you can to encourage them and help them and mentor them, whether that's in acting, whether that's in writing, whether that's in directing, because that is definitely still a zone where I'm seeing zero representation.
There's a whole artistic project that's happening called the Miracle Project. I do know one of my friends is part of that and working on that to try and facilitate more artistic.
So just those of you who are creating and developing your own shows, and I just have to say, like, it's easy to forget this because of, I guess, like, just who you're hanging out with. Like, you think of who you're hanging out with, and Jesse and I will often be thinking about something that we're creating and thinking about casting, and then we'll cast something and we'll be like, oh, that's like our 5 white friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're like, why did we do that? We don't do that anymore. But I would say like a few years ago when we were thinking about projects and stuff, I'd be like, whoa, we can't have like a 90% white cast. Like that's terrible. If you're creating projects, hold yourself accountable to that.
Totally.
And if you look at your group of friends and you're like, oh, here's my group of white friends, like ask more of yourself.
Totally.
That's what I would say. Right?
Yeah.
Word. Okay, good. Social media. Do you want to plug yourself on social media?
Sure.
Okay.
Follow me on Instagram, guys, at I am Anisha.
Do you want to spell that for them?
Yeah. IAMANISHA.
I am Anisha.
And my website is on there too, guys.
Yay.
www.anishanagarajan.com.
And I want you guys to Google her song on Outsourced because it's so incredible.
Oh.
It is. It's so lovely. Why acting?
Why acting?
Mm-hmm.
I think I decided I wanted to be an actor when I was 10 years old.
Yay.
I said it in the car, and then I think my whole family was like, huh? But they've been hugely supportive in my getting to where I am. So that stereotype did not exist for me.
Good.
My parents put me in piano lessons when I was 3 years old. Music was a huge part of why I became artistic and into the arts. And then when I was applying to colleges, because I had done theater my whole life, starting when I was 10, I had a yearning to kind of apply both for theater and piano performance. And my dad sat me down and said, would you rather be in a practice room by yourself all day with the piano, or would you rather be collaborating with people?
God, your dad is smart.
And I said, I want to be with people because I hate being alone.
I know, me too. I don't like it. Very good.
So, yeah.
What is the best part about the business for you?
When I'm actually given the incredible opportunity to work, just having that artistic experience is so fulfilling to me when we're lucky enough to get it.
And what's the hardest part about the business for you?
Waiting for the getting it. Having that patience.
It's so hard.
Patience is a virtue, you guys.
So true.
Super tough.
I know, especially in this business.
Yeah.
Because it's all very exciting, and then when it's not exciting, it's devastating.
Yeah. And I think letting go of things too is also really hard. Even if I think I called you last year after I was done with my regional run of Monsoon Wedding, and I was sad. I was super sad because you spend so much time, especially when you're going out of town with all of these people who are also not from that area, and you build this family in a city that no one is used to, and you are the only people that you have. You create a bond and a relationship and a family with each other that is so unique. And then when it's done, you're all devastated, back to your normal lives, which is nice. You know, like it's nice to be home and to be, in your comfort zone. But like that, there's something so special about being thrown together with these people and having these new experiences. Just letting go of that can be hard, sad and hard.
And here's what I said to you, which you're leaving out of this conversation that we had, is those of you who are musicians, in particular singers, what I know about singers in like a legit way, you guys, is that you touch grace.
Oh my goodness.
It's true. Singing is the most, to me, open channel to God and to grace. And
that's so beautiful.
I believe that to be true. And when you have an open channel and you're accessing that on a regular basis, and then you become the channel of that grace funneled through you to then a group of people, that is one of the most beautiful and, in my opinion, highest honor acts of service.
Oh my goodness.
Really, truly. Like music heals.
You give me all the feels.
And when you're doing a musical theater show, you're doing that in conjunction with a group of people. and you are collectively a channel. And that's why when you see those big musical theater numbers where like the cast of 60 is all on stage and you just like feel like you don't even know what to do. Yeah. It's just of a level of miracle you don't even know what you witness. Sure. That when you're operating on a level that touches grace, then to come down is heartbreaking.
It's rough.
It's really heartbreaking.
Hard, yeah.
And I just want to acknowledge that to those of you who are singers, because the way that music, literally the energy of it shakes your molecules. And those of you who've done it, you know what I'm talking about. Like
it's visceral.
It really like takes the molecules of your body, which BTW are just sort of floating generally anyway to keep you together by some scientific magical force. And when you sing, they vibrate and shake. That's incredible. And then they radiate out to others to receive. And then those vibrations literally bounce off of their bodies back onto you.
Yeah.
Like, you guys want to talk about sex. Like, that's real. No, it's real.
It's true.
It's super real.
So true.
And so then for you to come back down and live life, it's hard.
It's mundane.
Well, it is. And it's hard to find that. It's not that it's not doable. It's that it's not as practically easily accessible to find that level of grace and connection just walking around the grocery store.
Yeah, exactly.
And so those of you who come out of those experiences, that's very real. And I really want to acknowledge that for you guys. And you have to take very good care of yourselves and just try not to hammer yourself with like substances to try and like numb the pain. Just try to be gentle with yourself and give yourself like a landing pad, like a transition time to transition back
That's
to
so
the
important.
normal. I think so.
You're
You have to plan
right.
it and you have to give it to yourself. Any questions that you have for me?
I love ya.
Not so much a question,
Not
but
so
a
much
statement.
a question, but a statement.
Love it. What do you wish somebody had taught you or managed to get you to understand when you were just a wee babe?
I think administration and the business of marketing yourself is something that when we go into the arts, we're not thinking about that.
Well, you're not.
That's not why we do this.
But you're also not thinking about it because they're not teaching it to you.
No, they're not teaching it to you. They're not teaching it to you in school. They're not teaching it to you
at all.
Ever. You don't ever get schooling on that.
No.
And I think that would definitely have been something that I would have found very lucrative, especially because I had the good fortune of, getting thrown into success when I was young. But then when we have these peaks and then we have these valleys. Right. And when you have the valleys, I think I was kind of like a complete floating fish out of water. Of
course you would be.
Because and then my peers had already started working on what to do. And I think that in that way, because of the success, as much of a positive as that obviously is and was, I think that I'm behind in that.
Well, I talk about that a lot on this podcast about those of you who, get the sort of early success that then what happens is then when the inevitability of the time comes across where then it's a little more work is
more
involved,
challenging for sure.
Then it's hard. It's almost harder on you because you're like, what? And meanwhile, people who've sort of been failing hard for the last 5 to 10 years, they have like A, coping mechanisms in place,
right, and
B, practical systems in place,
which to me makes it not a failure at all.
It is, but that's part of the coping mechanism, right?
Yeah.
Is they then have a practice. And so how I equate it to, this is my favorite equation, is like all the girls in high school who just were like naturally hella skinny, right, and I wasn't. And so I learned how to work out.
Yes, girl.
And I worked out and I hated working out.
Right.
And I didn't like working out, but I worked out all the time. And I learned about my body and I learned about food and I learned about diet and I learned about all those things. And like I have now a working continual relationship.
And a banging body.
With a banging ass body. No, but it's like I learned that.
Yeah.
And then people in high school who like didn't have that, they were just like, I eat all the Whoppers and I'm in a soccer team, so I'm just a size 0.
Right.
Like I never, and I used to look at them and be like, I hate you. But, you know, those girls now, and really starting at like their early to mid 20s, started really struggling with their weight, and they're having to go through that learning curve later.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a similar sort of thing. And I do think like with regards to your journey, when you say about teachers and stuff like that, like that's maybe something that you should look into, is like somebody who is holding you business accountable.
Oh, for sure.
Because you don't have a problem, obviously, in the talent and in the, like, you know, your cast, like you have so much going for you in that you know your casting, you know what you deliver.
Absolutely.
You're good at delivering it. You don't get panicked at delivering it. Like, you know your vibe. And then it's just making the time for it, saving the energy for it, and then being held accountable to do it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Totally.
Easy-o peasy.
Yeah.
She knows I love her the most. You guys, I'm so excited for Anisha's career. Her lifelong, beautiful career. I tell her that all the time, but I am. Last but not least, mildly interesting. This is the mildly interesting that ends the season, so make it a good one, Anisha.
Okay.
Okay, good. Do you want me to go first, or do you have one?
You go first.
Okay, I'll go first.
Think.
You guys, I want you to start watching the new ABC American Idol, because it is so good. There's all these reviews on television that are like, American Idol still can't hold up to The Voice. And they are wrong. They're so wrong. Everyone this season is so incredible. I don't even know what to do about it. They're so good. And I watch the season. I'm like, yes. And then I'm also like, oh my God, they're so good. And I'm like, hi, everyone's so good. I'm just like, who's going to win? I just don't know. It's really, really inspirational. And everyone that I've told to watch it, they've been like, really? American Idol? And then they come back and they're like, so I just watched all 12 episodes of American Idol yesterday. And I'm like, yes, you did.
I want to watch it.
You are going to love it.
I haven't watched it at all.
No, you and your daughter are going to be up on American Idol like you don't
like
even know.
Good thing for us
sure.
to do.
For sure.
So I just discovered this amazing singer on Instagram.
Oh, great.
Her name is at India, INDIA, like the country.
India.
_ Carney, CARNEY. And
Okay.
she's like masterful riffing sensation.
Love it.
Who also does harmonies a cappella with herself.
Yes.
And I literally died when I started listening to her. I think that I watched like maybe every single video that she has on her Instagram.
I love that.
In one evening.
Yep.
Like over and over and over again.
Yes.
She's incredible. Look her up. Watch her stuff because she's incredible.
Yay.
And I don't even know her. I'm just plugging
pimping her
'cause
out.
She's amazing.
Yay. Okay, I don't know if you've warmed up yet today. Do you want to end with a really beautiful native or otherwise favorite song of yours?
A favorite song of mine?
You don't have to do the whole song. You can just do a little moment if you want.
Sure thing. Let me think of a
Everyone
good one.
loves it when somebody sings on this. They just like die for it. She's magical.
I can sing something Indian.
Yeah, let's do something Indian.
I think that's my shtick.
Well, not
my
only
jam,
that,
not my
like
shtick.
how many people are listening to Indian? You know, it's good.
That's
It's
true.
good exposure. Let's
Let's
educate the world.
Alrighty.
Okay, great.
बाजे मृदंग तालविना ये रे नाचत गौरी गणा बाजे मृदंग तालविना ये रे नाचत गौरी गणा गणपति बप्पा मोरिया मंगलमूर्ति मोरिया गणपति बप्पा मोरिया मंगलमूर्ति मोरिया नाच नाच रे गजानना बाजे मृदंग तालविना ये रे नाचैत गौरी गणा ॐ गं गणपतये नमः ॐ गं गणपतये नमः ॐ.
That was so beautiful. Do you want to tell us what you sang?
It was just a prayer to for beginnings, basically.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, you guys. A prayer for beginnings. Well, Anisha, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, you guys. Don't forget your towel. Special thanks to Anisha. Oh, Anisha, bestow my heart. You're so wonderful. You guys, she's got kids. She just got back into town yesterday, and she's like, I'm coming, Audrey. I'll do this episode. She's magnificent. If you're not familiar with her work, look her up. She's so incredible. Also, I just want to do like a quick while I'm gone. Don't forget a couple things, you guys. The website is up, audreyhelpsactors.com, audreyhelpsactors.com. I've got everything on there. The podcasts are all on there. You've got all the recommendations. I've got the self-tape lighting kit. You guys have to get this self-tape lighting kit. I don't get any kickbacks. I just bought it. It works really well. Go get it. Self-tape yourself, you guys. And, Jesse is doing Reels again, you guys. So if that's interesting to you, you can go search them out at actingtrailers.com. Actingtrailers.com. He's doing a few more. If this podcast and its 32 episodes are not enough for you and you want a little bit more personal attention, now that publicity has died down, I have a little more time. You can go to the consulting page on audreyhelpsactors.com and reach out to me if you so choose. Listen, listener questions. I'm going to be answering them on Instagram. Listener questions on Instagram, so you can send me your listener questions. Don't send them on Instagram. Send them to audreyhelpsactors@gmail.com. Again, that's audreyhelpsactors@gmail.com. audreyhelpsactors@gmail.com. You guys, I just want to thank you for such an incredible season. Thank you so much for sharing. Continue to share, continue to shout out. It's so great. Internet, things can live up there and be binge for the rest of time. So spread the word. Let people know if anyone's having like a total actor breakdown, which I know you may know one or two actors having a total actor breakdown. Just send them on over to this podcast and let them know you're not alone. It's really been wonderful. Getting your reviews has been really great. I so appreciate it. All right, you guys. I'll see you in a few months. Don't forget that towel. This show is produced and edited by Jesse Lumen. Oh, he's so handsome. Special thanks to Thomas Snodgrass for the mic assistance here and there. He's so generous with his mic. It's good to have your sound guy across the street, you guys. And thanks to Aalok Mehta for some help with the theme song. Music this week and every week by Ari De Niro. And most importantly, don't forget your towel.